Top of the morning. How are we? I'm going to make some water kefir starter grains today. I'm not really going to make them like nature made them already, but I'm going to reconstitute them. Now, I've heard lots of flack about reconstituting and buying dehydrated grains. And if I were to buy them online right now, I wouldn't buy dehydrated grains probably. I know you can dehydrate them if you got to travel with them and you want to like start them in a new place and so forth. But I bought these a while back at the health food store, I think two purchases ago, and kind of forgot I had them. And so I've been actually working with a water kefir starter just from store bought. But I added too much sugar. I did like twice as much sugar as you're supposed to. So you're supposed to do about a quarter cup of kind of whatever kind of sugar you want. And that's what this says too. It says 1 packet of dehydrated water kefir grains, which are in here. A water free of chlorine and fluoride, which is what I use. And then organic cane sugar. It'll give me the amounts in a moment. Then you need a glass jar of 1 quart. You need a thermometer, a coffee filter or tight weave cloth, otherwise known as a lid in my world, a rubber band or a lid, and then a mesh strainer if you're, not coordinated. It's fine. So, so activating your water kefir grains, it wants you to, in a glass jar or plastic container, prepare the sugar water. You're gonna, and this is just if you're using granulated sugar and you have to like get it going and get it into the water. I'm not going to use granulated sugar because every granulated sugar is to my body like what landmines are to soldiers. So it's no good for me. It doesn't matter like how pure or cool a sugar it is. It's just once it's in a grain form, it just is no good. So, but they're doing 1/2 cup of hot water to a 1/4 cup of sugar. And then they are adding 3 cups of cool water. So this is a little bit different than my recipe that I put on to another video where it's 3 cups of water to a 1/4 cup of sugar. They're adding an extra 1/2 cup of water. But some of that is going to steam out probably, so it's not super different, but just bear in mind that little bit of difference. I always say err on the side of more sugar at first because that's what's feeding your critters. That's what's feeding these grains. Also, anybody will tell you these grains, just like all of us, like to be fed, a variety of things. So, so if you find over time that they're looking a little peaked, try a different kind of sugar, whether that's a fruit sugar or, it doesn't have to be a granulated sugar. As I say, I'm using an agave nectar, a raw agave nectar. Yours wouldn't have to be raw, but it sure doesn't hurt anything to make it raw. So I've opened these up. They look, how can I say they look? To me, they look very similar to when I dry lemon rind after I've pulverized it already and turn it into like it's almost like little cracklins. Some people have described water kefir grains when they're kind of plump and ready and happy to kind of like Rice Krispies. I can sort of see how they might say that, but to me, it just looks like rock candy. So I'm going to put these in. This is about a tablespoon, and these cost more than $5, less than 10. I wouldn't have bought them if they were over 10. I feel pretty sure they were over 5, and that's pretty par for the course with these things, which is why you just don't want to buy them all the time because they're not cheap. So what I'm going to do here is I've just used this to do some pouring of kombucha. So I'm just going to give it a quick rinse. I don't know if kombucha bacteria and yeast are compatible with water kefir yeast and bacteria or not. That's actually an experiment that I'm doing. You can see my video where I just mentioned that if you want. But this is a 1 quart jar, but keep in mind, it's only a quart if you get all the way to here, right? So for practical purposes, most of these jars, you're working with about 3 cups of playground. So it's about to here. This particular one doesn't have the doodads on it to tell you. Most of mine do, but this one does not. Because I'm already doing some fermenting, I'm going to go ahead and just use the mixture that I have. And again, this is going to have a little bit more sugar. than you would normally have, and then you're going to use in this recipe. But it's like no big thing. It's actually great because they're going to be hungry. So how do I want to do this here? Empty the entire packet into the room temperature sugar water. Okay, that's what we're doing. Here we go. So you can see what it looks like. If you've seen a Demerara sugar, it looks very much like that. These are like large grain Demerara sugar looking things. They're just a little bit bigger grain. Okay. And then you're going to put it in with that sugar water. So I'm going to do about 3 cups here. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball a little bit here. You can see I'm also working on my avocados. The only problem with these jars is they don't pour very well. This is the least messy I've been in one of these pouring episodes. I'm going to do that. That's around 3 cups. I'm going to err just a tiny bit on the conservative side there, because some recipes for water kefir grains, they have you strain these out. And so I'm going to do a little stir here. It actually doesn't say to stir it, so so I guess we'll just leave it. It's fine. And then I'm going to go ahead and just put, I think because I haven't done this before, I am going to go ahead and follow all of the directions. And because this was, these aren't cheap. So this is my little linen cloth. And honestly, I can't recommend these enough. They start off red and then they bleed like the dickens, but they're machine washable. They're just little linen, these are just canvas things you get from I think I got them at Lowe's. There's just like a big bag of them in the paint section for cloth cleanup kind of things. And so what I'm going to do here is see if I've got a rubber band. And if you don't have a rubber band, it doesn't even matter, because what I'll do instead of searching for a rubber band, I'll just use one of these and it'll be fine. I'm just going to kind of stick that on there just with a little bit of pressure. And it won't matter that it's not totally on because I don't have kids and nobody's running around my house. So I'm just going to give that a little dry and put this in. I have a little fermenting box on my counter. You can see this is how I keep an eye on. I have a little bit of a memory issue due to some medical things. And so what I have found is useful for me. Ooh, I got something sticky. Hang on 1 second. I find that when I put things on top of the fridge or something, I sometimes forget about them. And if I don't forget about them, they just look real cluttery. And for some reason, since I'm always at this counter working, this is real easy for me. So I have a box. If I could move this. I have a box here. You can see that anything that's live, that's just starting its ferment and that I need to keep an eye on, I'll put in there. And then I know in my particular temperature in my house, it needs a good week to just kind of sit around. Right now I've got the water kefir that I made with a little bit of kombucha. That's an experiment. And then I've got another one. I put some turmeric in that one. And these are already pretty sweet, so I didn't need to add more sugar. And then this one is without the turmeric, but you can see water kefir plus kombucha. And I really like these Perrier bottles to use. And then I really like these as well. These are yogurt jars, but they're glass. And because they've got a smaller mouth than they do bottom, they can hold some of that carbonation pretty well. But I also like them because they're smaller bottles. I can drink 16 ounces of water kefir, no problem. But if I'm drinking a kombucha, something with caffeine in it or something, it's not good for me to have that much caffeine. So, so that's what we're gonna do. I'll put into the description. We'll do kind of a follow-up video when that gets done. It's Saturday right now. We'll check it in a Saturday and see how it's doing. I'm gonna go through and do some stirring occasionally. What it tells me to do here is after 3 days, they should be plump and translucent. I've heard a lot of smack talk about dehydrated water kefir grains, and that they don't really perform that fast. And my home is kind of on the cool side. So we'll see if it does that or not. But that's why we have Messy Homestead, because this is just the straight dope on what's actually happening, not in fancy videos that have magical climate control, but in like, real microclimes where people like me turn on their air conditioner too much or leave the doors open all day or whatever we do. So you want to take into account that that variability that you might have at your place. Okay, so signing off for now. We'll see how it goes.